So, third video today. I got so much stuff I need to review, so we're going to start getting through them here, and then we may have a gap where we're out of stuff here for a minute. But just to let you guys know what I got on the way, I've got a vapor flask on the way. I've got all three versions of the super tank on the way. I'm actually not reviewing the mutation tank because I've traded it, and I have a lot of confidence the VCMT is going to be better. So I've traded away my mutation tank. I actually traded it for a Vapor Shark, DNA 200, and some boot and some other stuff involved there. But that's not this video. This video, you guys know that I have not much of a dripper, and over the last few weeks, I've wanted to get into dripping. My daughter thinks it's so impressive how fluid and smooth I can do this. She's just sitting here smiling, grinning ear to damn ear. As of lately, I bought quite a few drippers because I enjoy the experience of dripping, the substantial vape of dripping, the heat and the richness of dripping, the flavor of dripping, but I hate the inconvenience of just sitting and dripping. But this 120ml bottle of my current favorite juice, Sagittarius from Zodiac Vapes, I'll put a link in the description to Vaporized Nomads where you can get this juice. It's a strawberry cheesecake. I'm over the moon with it. I've dripped this much of it since Sunday, so I've acclimated pretty well. Of the mini drippers I bought today, we are talking about the Fogbeast by Phenom Vapors, and here we go. So let's start out with vape. I got my DNA 200 in today. Finally! I've got it set at 152 watts. And again, the Sagittarius is a 7030, and here we go. Holy hell. Let's see if we can do that again. I might go, let me just strip again. I'm going to go ahead and juice this up again. The last thing I want is a 150 watt dry hit. In here, this build is 0.19. It is a dual 5-wrap Clapton. Let's give it another go. This is wide open airflow. It's pretty insane. Now, the reason I like this drip tip, and I'm actually going to do a little up close on this, I'm not going to take the coils off. Fuck that, this thing's doing too well. The cotton's so well and broke in. But we will do, I'm just going to do, I guess, bring it up to the camera up close. I love the dual airflow, the indirect, direct airflow, but that's not anything new. It's not anything special. My big problem, especially with these shorter drip tips, is they just spit in my mouth. You guys saw I just stripped this, and I didn't get any in my mouth. And that's a win for me on a low profile drip tip. It's a 2-part drip tip. The bottom, it's actually a 3-part drip tip. The top is just Delrin. They actually do also have another top cap that you can use a 510 drip tip in it. But for me, that's not a big deal. I like this cap. You can actually get down to something pretty restrictive just on the lower airflow, cutting off the top airflow. Not my style. I need more vapor than that. But I'll take it up close here, and I'll show you a little bit about kind of what I like about it. Okay, so I talked about the dual airflow. Again, you've got the airflow down at the bottom, and that is adjustable. It's actually a little hard to get off. Come on. Okay, so you've got this piece, which is the secondary airflow. You see you've got a hole at the bottom there, and you've got another hole at the top where the plastic is. But inside the top, you've got this kind of chimney, I don't know, or a kind of roof down in there. And you see I've got the Claptons ducked down pretty low. The airflow goes into the side and actually up the center, into the middle on both sides. and up the center post. So this little shield prevents you from dripping directly down into that center post. It doesn't go in and up like kind of like a mutation, in and up 90 degrees. So whenever you're dripping your coils, you haven't got to worry about juice flowing out the bottom and then out those holes. And this shield does a really good job. I'll be right back. And I'm back. This shield does a really good job of letting you drip down into it and not flood out the bottom. I have had no juice come out of the bottom of this dripper. That is an absolute plus on this. Also, that shield, or that roof, or whatever you want to call it, it also does a good job of when you're dripping to disperse the juice over the two coils. What I do is when I'm dripping, I kind of go do this kind of number here, and so I'm catching both sides of that slant. Does a good job of not taking the cap off and juicing the coils. Does a really, really good job. So we put this top cap on. We'll put the first cap on. Oh, and another thing I like is since the juice hole or the air holes are not directly under the coils like you have on a mutation or quite a few other styles, I can get my coils right down on the deck, and that's how I prefer it. I don't like really high coils. Some do, some don't. This is actually called a competition atomizer, so you can raise those coils up if you want to. It's just not something that's my style. So this bottom ring does spin to adjust that, and you can tighten that airflow. And there's actually, that comes into play later. So here I've got these air holes closed. I'm closing off direct airflow. Well, if you do that, if you spin that, is there a chance that you now can't perfectly line up the top airflow on your coils? They've actually thought about that, because if they was to twist together, you'll see with those lined up, my air hole is actually not in front of my coil anymore. In there, you see this slit. Go back on. You see this slit is a lot wider than this lower airflow. The reason that is if you want it directly over the coil, well, I put it on, I got it open. Let me close it. With it closed and I'm lined up, you see I'm not in front of my coil. If you can see down in there, you can't get to the coil. They have it like that so you can actually give it a twist and get directly in front of your coil with the lower airflow closed off. Pretty neat feature. I initially was wondering why would they do that, because with that big slit you could make the slit on this bigger to allow more airflow, and then I understood that the reason it's like that is so you can still line the top airflow up with your coil while having your lower airflow closed off. I'm not going to close off my airflow because I like direct and indirect airflow, but just something to consider, and it is kind of a neat feature. Another neat thing about it is since you have it like this, right now I've got both of them directly over the coil. Actually, if you take it and you line it up to the other side to where you're not over your coil, you actually get a little, it is a different vape. It's a different flavor because I've got one directly going up the center to the coils, hitting that chamber, and then dispersing out to the coils. But in this one, I've got one kind of offset to the side of the coil, kind of doing that little cyclonic effect in there. So the airflow on this thing, that's pretty well lit on the up close. The airflow on this thing was really, really, really well thought out, I think. Now, that's everything that I like about it. Here's what I don't like about it, and it's not a big deal because it's just a problem because of how I use it. I still like to take my cap off and look at my coils while I drip them. That's just kind of how I like to do it. Other people might not like that. You know, you might drip straight through the cap and never have this problem. But when I do that, I notice when I put my cap on, I didn't over drip that time. I usually get a little bit right around where the two meet. See, just drip, nothing in the mouth. I find that sometimes if I drip it like that, I end up with some juice here along the edge, and then I gotta wipe it off, and and then you gotta deal with that. It's just something that's kind of a problem for me, but necessarily not a problem for everybody. So let's take another vape and see what we got. Woo. 150 watts is warm, but that flavor is on point. Now, you can turn it down, and this is something else I like to do. If you want a little better flavor, you can absolutely cloud chase with this, but I like to turn the airflow down. My favorite way to vape this is I keep the bottom airflow wide open, and then I close the top airflow off about halfway, and I like to run it at about 90 watts. I get really, really good flavor, but still a substantial vape, not to the degree of 150 watts wide open. Not that holy fuck cloud, but it still does a good job. It's not so hard to the lungs. The flavor is really, really nice. It's still nice and dense. And as far as drippers go, man, I don't think you can go wrong for this. Now, I think I'm out of focus. It is a little pricey. In the day of $20 atomizers, this is 90 bucks. And I know there's a lot of them that are a lot more than that. And I know the dripping crowd, the hardcore dripping crowd, $90 is probably not that bad for an Addy. I think for probably 90% of vapors, 90 bucks may be a stretch. So now the question is, would I buy it again at $90? I'm not going to buy clones. I think that clones are horrible. I think it hurts innovation. I think it hurts quality, quality business and artisan people who spend their time designing this stuff and making this stuff. Just like my buddy Dino, who made the Velocity. Unless people got permission to use the Velocity deck on their different devices and turning RTAs and quite a few different things into Velocity style decks, I think that's fucking horrible. Unless they got permission, of course. If you can't figure out how to make something, if you can't devise something, of your own, or improve on something, but and not carbon copy somebody, then just don't fucking do it. Me myself, I'm gonna start making a tube mod, and it is inspired by something else, but I'm not gonna copy it. I'm not gonna, nothing about it other than the one concept of an outer sleeve. That's the only similarity. But to actually take something like the Velocity deck and just stick it on something else, that is fucking offensive. I'm sorry, I went on a rant. Would I buy this again for $90?
There's a bug in my room.
You'll be okay. Would I buy this again for $90? Let me take another vape and see. Let me turn it back up. Let's do 120 watts. 150 is a little warm for my taste. I don't think I would. But you've heard me rave about the device. Is it, take a mutation, take a BCMT. Let's look at, I've got a new Addy called the Bullet that I think I paid $40 for. I've got a Dark Horse. I've got a dozen different drippers. I've got a mutation. I got a mutation mini. I've got so many. Would I pay $90 for it again? Probably not. But it's not the fault of the Addy. It's that I'm a cheap ass, I guess. I think I can get a great vape without spending 90 bucks for a dripper. Now, a lot of you may disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm happy to be wrong on that. This is just my personal opinion. I do love the Addy. I absolutely do love it. But I don't know if I love it that much more than other things that I've bought in the $50 price range. But don't take that as a negative to the Addy, because it is an outstanding atomizer. It is the best dripper that I've used so far. Out of the box of them that's over there. So, it's about what I got. My buddy Adam at Vaporized Nomads is carrying these. I don't know if you other people are. I'll put a link down in the description to how to get in touch with him if you're interested in ordering one. I know they make a white cap for this also, which I really, really want one. I messaged the manufacturer trying to buy one, and they're actually not at this moment selling the white tops instead of the black tops. But I think that's going to change in the future. So, just to round it up, dual airflow. It's got the bottom and the top airflow through the top cap and the bottom ring. The airflow at the bottom does go in and up the middle, but you've got that roof that prevents you from dropping juice straight down in that hole. Also, whenever you're pulling air in, the air comes in, hits that roof, and spreads out. That does a great job. Great dead, right on the coil airflow from the top cap. Also, you can kind of offset it in order to get, kind of a cyclonic effect in there along with the center airflow. So that does a really, really good job. I just can't, the screws, I want to punch somebody at Mutation for the screws that's on my Mutation tank and on the Mutation, on my Mutation X. I literally think somebody should get punched in the mouth for that. The screws on this, I wrenched them down, and I'm talking about they're on there. So the screws, the build quality, it literally is a top-notch atomizer. Is it 90 bucks? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. I haven't seen any videos on this out there, so I hope to see more, because this thing should get a hell of a lot more attention than it's getting. So, one more vape, and we'll call that a day. Jamie J.C. West, keep vaping. We vape, we vote. See you again next time.